Good morning. How's everybody doing today? I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. And welcome to Coffee with Connie. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. I know that the mornings can be a little tricky with getting off to work, getting kids off to school, getting everybody ready and things going on, but I really appreciate your time. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, a lot of people are out there starting to look at homes, writing offers on homes. The real estate market is really busy, and in fact, so busy as such that a lot of houses are quickly moving on and off the market. And so I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that have come up that people have asked me questions about, because I love it when you guys ask questions so I can actually share information that people ask me to help maybe others. So good morning, Craig. Hey there, Tammy, how are you? Hi, Cecilia, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Billy, how are you today? So, first let me qualify and say I'm not a real estate agent, but I work with a lot of great professionals. And so I've had a lot of experiences with some of the things that they deal with. And so what I would do is when you ask me questions that maybe are things that I don't know the answers to, then I direct you or potentially reach out to some professionals that we work with to try to get the answers for the questions for you, or put you in contact with those people. So one of the things I wanted to talk about this morning was the real estate contract and some of the things that maybe could be important to you that you maybe need to think about when you're starting to think about putting an offer in on that dream home that you found. Hey there, Angela, how are you? Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. I had somebody contact me yesterday and ask me some questions about a kick-out clause, a contingency and a kick-out clause. Now, again, I'm going to qualify by saying I am not a licensed realtor and I'm not giving you legal advice, but sometimes we just talk through some things and people ask me questions, and then, like I said, I'll direct them in the right path, or maybe try to answer some of the questions based on things that I've seen before. So in this particular case, this was somebody that had written a contract on a house that they just fell in love with, had no plans on moving. Hey there, Roz, how are you? Had no plans on moving whatsoever, was walking the dog, found a house, thought, oh my gosh, love that house. I really want to see if that works for me. They went in, talked to the owners. The owners let them walk through the house. They were thrilled, excited, and it looked like the perfect house for them. So of course, then they decided they wanted to get their house on the market. So the realtor that was representing that particular house, they also dealt with to put their house on the market. So unfortunately, as you know, a lot of us would understand, they didn't have their house sold, and most people can't carry 2 mortgage payments at one time. So they had to put what's called a contingency in the contract on the house that they were buying that said, hey, look, we have to sell our house first. But usually the realtor will direct you and say, you need to put a date in because the seller doesn't need to hang on forever. It's not fair for the seller, but also, to motivate the buyer to get that on the market and to get things going. So in this particular case, that happened. They put that in, but the buyer understood that they had until that date to get their house under contract and remove that contingency on the new house. Well, unfortunately, the real estate market's so hot that someone else came in without a contingency and made an offer on that same home. So this potential buyer is a little bit panicked. Oh my gosh, I love this house. What am I going to do? And so, of course, I directed her to her realtor, because that is who helped them write the contract and make sure that the information was in there the way that they wanted it to be. But she reached out to me because we are longtime business friends, and she just felt confident asking me some questions. So we talked through some things. Of course, I didn't have a copy of her contract in front of me, so there's no way I can really answer the questions, and pushed her back to saying, hey, here's some questions to ask your realtor to maybe make it a little bit more clear for you. So in no way was I trying to answer those questions specifically, but instead give her some information so she knew what questions to ask. So, hey there, Tony. How are you this morning? Hi, Mariana. How are you? Thanks for tuning in, guys. So some other things that I thought maybe you might want to talk about or think about, and this is one of them. So if you're going to buy a house, but you have a house to sell, you're going to be putting in an offer on that new house that has a contingency in it that says, I can't buy your house unless I sell my house, but I really want to buy your house, so let me put an offer in, and then there may be some things about that offer that have, if I don't sell my house, then this happens. That way you're not stuck on the hook for two houses at one time. Or maybe you're able to set up a situation where you can afford to carry both of them for a little while, and that's something that the realtor will better help you, and your mortgage lender. So before you guys, and unless you're just driving around and find your dream home, before you actually go and put a contract on something, you want to really find that mortgage professional that is going to help you know exactly what you qualify for, number one. And number two, a lot of realtors, before they'll even show you properties or before somebody will accept your offer, may require you to be pre-qualified so that they can be sure, especially with the real estate market being as busy as it is, so they can be sure that the offer that they're advising their seller to accept is actually somebody that can really qualify for that house and that loan to be able to purchase that house. So that way the seller's house isn't being tied up and not being able to be shown because someone put an offer on it that isn't necessarily qualified to be able to buy it. So go out and find your mortgage professional and start getting that ball rolling. There's no requirement when you start talking to your mortgage professional to get that loan. If it all falls through, there's no requirement there until you actually lock in that loan. But you need to start having that conversation with the mortgage professional first. So then let's talk about some pieces in the real estate contract that are really important. Obviously the sales price, obviously the loan amount. We want to make sure that the property that you think you're buying is really what you think you're buying. So the seller is going to have some documentation, your realtor, if you have a realtor involved, and all these things are real good reasons to work with a realtor and not do it on your own. The realtor has that expertise to be able to find out and do some research before writing that contract to make sure that that really is the property that you think you're purchasing, particularly if you're looking in an area that's kind of rural. So if you're looking in an area that maybe isn't in an area where it has lots of houses that are close together, and more of an area that's a lot more rural and there's a lot more land, your realtor is going to be that professional that helps guide you and make sure that the contract really states what you really think you're buying, because you want to make sure that that's done properly. So there's lots of real good reasons to use a realtor, and doing that research to make sure you find one that works well for you. So some other things that you might want to think about in that real estate contract might be, and again, a realtor is going to help direct you with this, but is the property on a private water system or is it on a private septic system? Those things you might want to know. The lender loaning you the money may not require you have certifications guaranteeing that those things work, but you may want to make sure that those things work, and you may have to spend the money to get those tests done, but you want to make sure that when you move in that house that those things are right and they're working properly. So that realtor is going to help you do that, help you understand, is it in that kind of situation? And if so, can we do that testing to make sure that we are protected and that those things are in proper working order? Maybe some other things that you may want to think about are, is there some things that go with the house that maybe you do or don't know that they do? And so maybe the seller doesn't want to take the lawnmower with them, and so you want to make sure that's in the contract if you want to buy that with the property. Are you buying some of these things in addition to the purchase price? Are these things all coming to you with the purchase price? So there may be some things, maybe curtains, because they actually match in the room, maybe some rugs or some furniture or some other pieces of items that actually you may want with the home, maybe some outdoor furniture that the seller's willing to sell you in addition to or maybe part of. So you're going to want some of that in your contract. Hey there, Debbie. How are you this morning? Hey, Chip. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. So some of those things, what do you think you're getting with that property? Is there a shed that's not affixed to the ground? Is that shed going to go with the property? Maybe does the seller have a drawing of what that property looks like so you can make sure that everything is sitting where it belongs? You may want to have a survey done. So I would say, and most realtors would say, yeah, you do want to have a survey done to make sure that that property is sitting where, that house is sitting where you think it is on that property, or the fence is where you think it is, or the shed, or the garage, all of the things that are above the ground that are on the property that maybe you want to make sure they're sitting where where they look like they're sitting with an official drawing. And so the seller may be able to provide you with that. Hey there, Jeff. How are you this morning? Hi, John. How are you? Thanks for tuning in, guys. So some of those things are things you're going to want to think about. Your realtor is going to recommend a lot of other things that are very specific when you're doing your contract. A home inspection. Maybe you want to make sure that a home inspection is a stipulation in the contract, that that contract is subject to that home inspection, because you want to make sure that all of the components of that house work as well as can be, as you would expect that they would. So when you move in, you don't end up with a lot of things that need to be repaired. So a lot of times a home inspector can come in and look at the roof, look at the windows, look at the electric system from what they can see from the outside, look at the plumbing system from what they can see, the HVAC system, and they can make recommendations to you. And so those are some things you're going to maybe want to be necessary in your contract. And again, if you work with a realtor who has lots of experience and as we always talk about, good reviews, they're going to recommend a lot of this stuff to you. But part of the reason I wanted to talk about this is because a lot of people feel as though they can save money and not work with a realtor, and they know what to do. And even if you've bought a home several different times, you're buying a different home with different possibilities. It could potentially not protect you in the right way. So these are all really important components and things you might want to think about. And your realtor's probably going to recommend this, but some things just to get the ball rolling and for you to think about. And the other really important thing I want you to know, and of course this is near and dear to my heart, but in your contract, it should include where you're going to be doing your closing. Now, a lot of times I'll talk to you about making sure you do your research and pick the right realtor, making sure you do your research and pick a mortgage lender that you feel comfortable with, because you're giving them all of your personal information. You can see through this conversation why picking a realtor that has lots of experience and knows the area that you're looking to purchase in is all really important, because they can educate you on the neighborhoods, they can educate you on things like, is the property subject to homeowners association dues? And if so, that's not part of your mortgage payment. That's something you're going to have to pay additionally. So some of these things that you need to know. But the third and very important key as well is picking the company that's going to do your closing. And a lot of people will say, realtors will say to their customers when they're writing the contract, well, hey, you need to pick a title company. Here's a couple that I know of. Now, what I'm going to ask you is do your research. Make sure you understand who you're choosing, because by law, you have the right to choose. And your realtor, if you trust them and respect them, they're going to have some really good recommendations for you. But at the end of the day, this company not only pulls all the pieces together for closing, make sure the numbers are in the right order, make sure all the documentation is put together properly, but after closing, they actually ensure your ownership. And if you are working with a company that does not have a track record of doing a good job at doing this part of it, then you're not going to be well protected when you walk away from closing. And the reason that, let me give you an example scenario. Let's say you get your homeowner's insurance policy and you want to work with who is doing your auto insurance already. Great idea. But let's say that they forget to, they give you a really high deductible and you didn't understand that, and the person you're working with doesn't explain that to you well, and you have a hurricane come through or a really bad storm and it damages your roof, and you have a $5,000 deductible and you do not have $5,000 because you just moved into your new home and you spent all of your money in that new home and you're decorating it and you're doing all these things. Well, you may not be able to get your roof fixed because you can't afford it. Now, you certainly don't want that not protected. And you want to make sure, just like with your homeowner's insurance, that your ownership is protected. And that's what a good title company does. Not all title companies are created equal. The closing may be similar. It's not about the money. It's about protecting your home ownership. And so that's a choice that you make when you do your real estate contract. So I ask you to understand that you have the right to choose and do a little research and make sure you're choosing companies that will accurately protect you. Now, I talk about stuff like this all the time, and I try to tell you when things are specific to Maryland and Virginia, which is where we're licensed to do business. But this is one of those topics that is pretty universal throughout the country. You need to do the research and pick in the right realtor so that all these things will be properly included in your contract. You need to do the research and pick the right mortgage company so that you get the loan with all of the terms that you need, and that you trust the person that has your personal financial information. And the third and a very important key to the puzzle is making sure you pick the company that's going to protect your home ownership and make sure your closing is seamless. So that needs to be included in your contract. So you need to be thinking about that at the time that you're writing writing your contract so you can tell your realtor, this is who I want to do my closing, so that everybody involved in the transaction knows who's going to be handling that. So that's a really important piece of the contract as well. There may be some other things that are a little specific to that property that may be included in that contract. Maybe there is the seller owns the property and one of the people isn't going to be there, so a power of attorney might be involved. Maybe one of the sellers has passed, and so there may be some estate information that needs to be involved in that contract. So if you're on the selling side of it and the people that purchased the property initially are not all available now to sign off on that real estate contract, you need to be talking to your realtor about who and how you get those pieces buttoned up, because that's really an important piece as well. And also, if you're the buyer and somebody is going to be purchasing the property who isn't available to sign that contract, your real estate agent is going to be the one that helps you determine how we're going to get that contract signed with all the parties that need to be involved as well. So very important piece of that puzzle. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of information. As I said before, I am not a realtor, but I've seen a lot of different things. And so what I try to do with Coffee with Connie is bring up ideas about things that may be questions that you may come across. And even if you aren't looking at real estate, but maybe you've purchased something and you have a question about ownership or transferring ownership or the mortgage that's on your property or how to deal with some different things, those are all questions that, you know, I'd love to either answer or find the answers for you. So that's what I really try to do with Coffee with Connie, is to spur some questions in your mind, maybe answer some questions for you, or ask you to share with somebody that you may know that is going through the process or maybe might have some of those questions. So, hey there, Chris. How are you this morning? Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Miss Lisa. How are you? Thanks for tuning in, you guys, this crazy weather morning. So I apologize for being a little bit later this morning than I usually am. I don't know about you guys, but here in Maryland, the weather has just been crazy, and it's just really messing with my head. So was trying to fight getting some of that worked out before I actually got on live with you guys today. So resources, go to our website, www.footetitlegroup.com, and look up on the resources page, whether you're on the buyers, sellers, or realtor lender page. There's a resources tab that has all kinds of information that could help you if you're buying or selling, tools, worksheets, checklists. Right now on our homepage, there is a calculator where you can actually calculate closing costs if you have some questions. There's also our what's new, our most common frequently asked 10 questions about what happens with your home closing. That's what's new, so you can click on that. You can download that resource. You can go to our resources page and download some of the other stuff. And on May 6th, if you're new to the King George or Westmoreland area in Virginia, or you are thinking about moving there, or you just want to come visit us, we're having a huge event at the King George YMCA called Make Yourself at Home. All of the vendors are local service providers: the fire department, the police department, the school system, social services, Parks and Rec, Animal Rescue League, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Come, bring your children. It's from 10 to noon on May 6th, Saturday, May 6th. You can bring your children. We will actually have the kids zone so the kids can go play while you go around and talk to some of those service providers about things that are available in that community. We will have bites and drinks, and we would love to see you. So that's May 6th, King George YMCA, 10 to noon. There's also information on our website about it, so feel free to go check it out. If I can help you with anything, please reach out to me. Message me on Facebook, email me, Connie@footetitlegroup.com. I'd love to help you with any of those questions that you have. And if I can't answer them, I certainly have lots of good resources on the real estate and mortgage side to be able to share that information with them to get you connected. So hope you guys are having an awesome day. Enjoy your Tuesday, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Enjoy your day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.